Hey, and welcome to the wrap up. If you haven't been here before, this is the official Raptors Republic post game live show where we recap, we dissect, and we have a lot of fun talking about the Raptors game you just watched. And this was a fun one. Aiden, this was a fun one. I mean, we had DeMar DeRozan coming into town, so everyone was excited just off of the strength of that. But the Chicago Bulls are a brand new team. They got Lonzo Ball, they got the Caruso, Alex Caruso. It's a fun game, but let me just get into the introductions first, and then we'll get into it. So obviously, I'm your co-host, Sahal Abdi, and I'm here with Aiden Moss of Raptors Republic. Oren is not here. He is currently with Nick Nurse, probably asking him a couple questions about the
The
game.
hard-hitting questions.
The hard-hitting questions. Tonight, the Raptors were defeated by the Bulls, 111 to 108, bringing the Raptors to 1-3 on the season. Aiden, let's talk about the last couple minutes of that game because man, oh man, was it a roller coaster. And you know what's funny, Aiden? I wrote the game day preview today. And I was talking about how the season so far for the Raptors has been a roller coaster. What was going on in those last few minutes? We saw a Lonzo Ball turnover. We saw a Nikola Vucevic turnover. We saw a Zach LaVine turnover. He's just dribbling the ball up the court, loses it. Fred takes it. What was happening? What was your favorite part? The DeRozan daggers. It's like, should we root for DeRozan at this point? Where are you, Aiden? Where are you at the end of this game?
Man, well, first of all, suggestion is not to drink a coffee right before your favorite team makes a run because I just started sweating profusely. My heart was beating. That was wild. I
Yeah.
you know I coach high school basketball, and it kind of reminded me of that where one team stole the momentum, and you could see their confidence just brimming, and the other team was kind of at a loss, like they weren't ready for this.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of feels like this is going to be the season. I tweeted like this is like the Raptors are going to have a March Madness season. There's going to be a lot of drama and a lot of runs put together. Um, as far as DeMar goes, it's nice to see him go to work. Like he is truly a professional. It
Mm-hmm.
is like kind of watching Kobe. It's ironic that he once again disappoints Raptors fans in the fourth quarter, except this time it's the ball going in the hoop instead of it not going in the hoop.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, hell of a game, hell of a fourth quarter.
I loved it. Aiden, I loved it. And you know what? DeMar DeRozan, like I said, I don't know whether to root for the guy or what, but man, oh man, like look at the title. He feasted on Toronto tonight. And I love that the fact that Zach LaVine, who's well regarded as one of the best two guards in the league, a guy that really has only the only really thing that Zach LaVine gives back, and he's known for giving back, is defense. Offensively, he's as gifted as they come. His step back, he has it all. I don't want to sound like that ball is life, or was it the ball is life guy who was just talking about Kobe Bryant? He's got the step back, he's got this, he's got that. No, Zach LaVine has it all. But I love the fact that Nick Nurse was attacking him defensively. And he was like, you know what? If you're going to give it to us in the third quarter, we're going to give it right back. So we saw the Scotty Barnes ISOs. And I always feel like, Aiden, I know Scotty Barnes is young. He's 19 years old. But man, I just want him to be a little bit more aggressive. I feel like when he attacks the rim, he always seems like he has a plan. And I love that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, DeMar, he crushed our hearts. It hurts. We saw a lot of fight from the Raptors. In those last couple minutes, we saw, hearts were fluttering. Apparently, it was a sold-out arena. And me, Aiden, I've said it the last few shows, I love watching the Raptors on a different broadcast now. And it has nothing to do with Matt Devlin or Jack Armstrong or even Alvin Williams. I think they're all great. I just love listening to different aspects, different ideas of what Toronto is and what they because to be quite honest, we know what Jack Armstrong is going to say and Matt Devlin are going to say about the Raptors night in, night out. We're used to it. We love them. But I just want to hear from a different voice. And I feel like these Bulls broadcasters, one thing I noticed, man, the NBA is really catching on to how good Scotty Barnes is. Scotty Barnes, I mean, this is the third game now from the Mavericks commentators to the Celtics commentators, and now I'm hearing it from the Bulls commentators, where I've heard Rookie of the Year or Rookie of the Year conversation for Scotty Barnes. I'm excited. I'm excited for what this kid can bring, even when Pascal Siakam gets back. Did you like Nick Nurse deploying him on who I thought was the player of the game in DeMar DeRozan? Mostly OG Anunoby, but we saw Scotty Barnes there as well. Or do you feel like it's a little too soon for Scotty Barnes to have those type of defensive
No,
assignments?
not at all. I mean, he is a cerebral defender. He makes rookie mistakes. They all do. You saw
Yeah.
DeMar get him on the pump fake early in the first quarter, and then I think he
Mm-hmm.
got Gary Trent too. But for the most part, he played strong defense. They threw him on Vucevic for a while, and
Yep.
I think that's the beauty of Barnes is his lateral quickness and his length and his strength and his like solid frame makes him versatile. We all know that DeMar's weakness are long, agile wing defenders. He's always had
Mm-hmm.
problems with them, and I'm sure Nurse knew that. And putting Barnes on him, it slowed him down. He didn't have a good shooting game. He scored when it mattered and when
Yeah.
the Bulls needed him. And really that was a large theme of tonight, and it was a large theme of the season thus far. Is that teams are getting locked down by the Raptors, but then they have a superstar or an all-star who's executing and hitting big buckets at big times, whether it's Beal, Tatum, Doncic, and tonight it was Levine in the first half and DeMar throughout.
Yeah.
And the Raptors don't have that. So, I mean, they played good defense. It's just that there was some better offense out there tonight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Toronto came out swinging early. They traded baskets at a pretty good rate. Zach LaVine, weirdly enough, couldn't get anything going. Aiden in the first quarter, like literally, he couldn't get anything going. It was DeMar DeRozan. He was very quiet. DeMar DeRozan was leading that team, and it almost felt like the Bulls kind of divided their scoring load per player per quarter. So it was like DeRozan was leading them in the first quarter. Vucevic had a very big second quarter, and then Zach LaVine just turned up. He just went crazy in the third quarter, and before you knew it, he was almost at 20 points. So I think the Bulls and Lonzo as well. He was fantastic defensively. I mean, you look at the turnovers from Fred VanVleet, and I don't want to like harp on Fred too much. 8 turnovers is quite a bit. You never want to see that from any guard in the league. But he did have 17 assists. We won't take that away from Fred VanVleet. A lot of the playmaking load fell on Fred VanVleet. And that's a lot. I feel like this was the first game where we said, Fred is really like, we've been talking about the strides he's taken as a playmaker, but Fred is almost there. Like and it's not just the assists, it's getting guys in the right position in the half court offense. It's, Kyle, I think one thing that we loved about him is the fact that when he couldn't get his scoring game going, Aiden, we saw different things from Kyle. He rebounds the ball really well. Defensively, he was stout. His playmaking was always there. Aiden, for Fred VanVleet, what is the key to unlocking the Raptors offense, especially when you have a guy like Lonzo Ball defensively? He's a hawk. He's a ball hawk. What's the key for Fred VanVleet? Or is it just one of those things like Samson said on the last show where, I mean, he's just working with what he has at this point?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't think you can only ask so much of, a small point combo guard. He's really more of an off-ball guy, and he's got the ball the majority of the time. The defense is pretty set. They're not staying up on. We don't have enough shooters for them to clear out the lanes. So there's not much room for Fred to operate. I mean, we can't get mad at him for having 8 turnovers when he also has 17 assists. Like that just shows that he is responsible for basically everything. I think the turnovers, you can get upset with him because he got upset with himself. There was a couple of times where he just got in way too deep and he just kind of made a dumb decision instead of, like Nash was really good at this, is he would get deep and then he would just turn a corner and come right back out the other side. And Fred kind of gets lost and buried deep down and then makes a dumb play. And so I think like I'm mad at Fred because he knows better, but I'm not mad that he has 8 turnovers. That's just going to come with the territory.
Yeah, it's almost like he runs out of ideas, especially when he gets under that basket area.
Yeah.
It's like he runs out and he's a small guy. Like Fred is the type of guy that when he stops his dribble and guys crowd him, it's not looking too good at that point, right? For Fred in this game, I mean, like you said, 8 turnovers, normally you're angry with it. As a fan, you're like, what the hell, man? That's just not good enough.
Yeah.
But the 17 assists, we've never seen. That's a career high from Fred VanVleet. We've never seen that before. I don't even know if we've ever seen 15 assists. Forget 17 from Fred VanVleet. He shot 6 for
15's
13
his
from the
career high.
field. 15 was his career high, exactly.
Yeah.
So 6 for 13 from the field, 15 points. The Raptors scoring, Aiden, was pretty much balanced. I mean, OG had 22 points, 8 for 17 shooting. Precious, I didn't really like what I saw from him. I've been a fan of his performances up until this point. The 3 performances up until this point. He shot 4 for 12. He hit the 3, and again, funny enough, the Bulls commentators were going crazy because they had no clue that was Precious could do that. And they kept talking about how that's his second made 3 in his career. So they were clamoring, to let him shoot and to let him have the pick and pop to himself and to force that to happen.
Yeah.
But I didn't really like what I seen from Precious today. I feel like around the rim, he wasn't as good as usual. The 11 rebounds is nice. I mean, that's what Precious is usually going to get you when he plays 24 to 30 minutes a game. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it as long as he's active. We know that, I think we can all agree, Aiden, that DeRozan was the player of the game overall. For the Raptors, though, who are you most impressed with in this game?
Well, just going back to Precious quickly, I think he does have trouble finishing down low. And,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to count how many alley-oops he's missed thus far this season because it's been a lot. And it's an interesting contrast with him and Birch because you can see Birch, he delays his roll. He finds the open spot. He's kind of mastered that floater. And Precious is still relying a lot on finishing above the rim. So I think he's going to work that out. But then you saw, he had the ball in the corner, and
Mm-hmm.
instead of jacking it, he one-stepped past Vooch and finished in the lane. So I think there's just going to be, it's just like the other guys. There's going to be a lot of lumps with the evolution of his game, but it's there and it's promising. For my guy of the game, I mean,
It's tough, right? Like
this,
normally you would just say OG. I mean, he
yeah,
did have 22 points, but Fred had a pretty solid game. Again, minus the 8 turnovers. Gary Trent Jr. hit some big shots.
yeah,
I
it was
don't know,
Gary's
man.
game
It's
in the
tough.
first quarter. I mean, I think I'm gonna go with Fred. Like
Mm-hmm.
he just, I would like to see his mileage after this game too. He was just unending, end to end, constant on the defense, on the defensive end, on the offensive end. He just carried the load, and this was just kind of like a classic Fred game. And I think the answer to him offensively is that he's going to just need more help. He's not a superstar. He's a very very good guard, and that means he needs somebody who can create in the front court, and that will hopefully be Pascal when he comes back.
Yeah, I need all the live commenters watching right now. We have almost 100 people in here. I need everybody to give me their Raptors player of the game. We've heard a lot about DeRozan. We've spoken about DeRozan, but I want to know from you guys: is it OG? Is it Fred? You guys have Scotty Barnes in there, maybe? I mean, he had a steal. He did have 6 turnovers, not that
Mm.
great. Or was it Gary Trent who hit a couple big shots in this game? I want to hear from you guys as well. Aiden, I was going through this game, and honestly, I had a feeling this would be a fun game because I don't know about you, but have you been watching the Bulls recently?
I haven't watched them. I've just seen them win games, and not
Yeah,
only win games on the offensive end, but defensively.
defensively. Yeah, I feel like for me, the balance of the team is really nice. I spoke about this again in my game day preview that the balance of the Chicago Bulls, the playmaking you see from Lonzo Ball, the perimeter defense you see from guys like Lonzo and Alex Caruso. Um, it's given back a little bit again with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. But again, offensively, they have great slashers. DeMar's one of the best slashers in the league. I know he's in, year 12, and I know Zach LaVine is mostly known as the guy that can just pull it up in your face or one of the better 3-point shooters in the game, but he can slash. That kid can slash. And with Lonzo Ball, if you get him to the next level, I don't know. I felt like it was a bit premature, Aiden, when a lot of people were saying that Lonzo really wasn't worth the money because if they're getting the Lonzo Ball that I saw tonight, goodness gracious, the Bulls are off to a very, very good start. I'm not a big fan of Billy Donovan as a head coach, to be quite honest with you. Not a massive fan. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's terrible. But I do like the look of this team. I'm a massive Patrick Williams guy who was taken 4th overall. Massive, massive fan. It feels like I was watching him and it felt like he grew a couple inches. He looks like he went from
It looks
6'9",
bigger.
6'10" to 6'11". Like he looks massive now. So I'm a fan of him as well. Aiden, for the Raptors, one of the things that I wrote down, because I'm writing game notes as the games are going along. One of the things I wrote down, Aiden, is with this bench, there's not enough scoring. I'm going to leave it just as simple as that. There's just not enough scoring. Chris Boucher played only 5 minutes. He was 1 for 3. Kem Birch got you the most scoring off the bench. It was 11 points. Goran Dragic had another rough game. He was 1 for 6 in 14 minutes. He did get to the line 6 times, so you appreciate that because that's quite a bit for 14 minutes. Delano Banton didn't play much. He was there for 5 minutes, got off, didn't see the floor again. And then Svi gave you 5 points in 13 minutes. You didn't get a lot from your bench. And when you look at all those names I just mentioned, and then the guys who haven't even played yet, the Sam Deckers and the Malachi Flynn's and the Bongas, there isn't one guy, Oren. I knew I'd call you Oren at least once.
Oh yeah,
there isn't one guy. There isn't one guy, Aiden, that you look at that can give you 20 points on a random NBA night.
No.
Is that something for a team that a lot of people, are predicting the Raptors to be bottom playoff seed in the play-in, somewhere between the 7th to 10th, maybe 11th seed in the league, which means you're going to be battling for a playoff spot. Is this something that Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster need to look at in terms of, hey, we need to get some bench scoring and we need it immediately? Maybe a trade at the trade deadline, you try and get some scoring, a veteran scorer, or do you just roll with what you have in the young guys?
I think we're rolling. I don't think there's unless we turn Goran into a couple of younger pieces, but it's always going to be that. It's not going to be the dependable dude that you call upon to get you 12 to 15. I think Gary Trent may become that. And once Pascal comes into the starting lineup and maybe Gary's the odd man out, him coming off the bench, perhaps with Precious, will be a little bit more of a punch. But it's really going to come down to how we stagger the starter minutes because our bench is anemic, to say the least.
Absolutely.
And I think we're all surprised that Boucher is not playing. And when he is playing, I mean, granted, he didn't have time to get in shape in the preseason, so maybe that's part of it. But when he is playing, he's not doing what we've seen of Boucher, especially last year. So that's really hurt our bench the last couple of games.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't know if you noticed, Aiden, but Alize Johnson, former Raptors 905 player, is now on the Chicago Bulls. And
fire hydrant.
I miss him. I really miss him. He had 14 minutes in this game, and it felt like he didn't. His stat line wasn't impressive. I mean, 6 points, a couple rebounds. He didn't miss a shot. He was 3 for 3, but he is all over the rim. Like this, when a ball goes up, and now I see why after those Raptors 905 games, when I'm scouring through Kelsey's Twitter timeline, or I'm on Raptors905.com trying to see the stats, I understand why Alize Johnson was coming away with these 15, 20 rebound games. This guy is someone that I miss for Toronto. I feel like he could have fit in a season like this. I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm a big Alize Johnson guy. He was on the Brooklyn Nets last season, spent a little time in Indiana to start his career. So I miss him, former Raptor. I'm looking at this team, Oren, this Raptors
That's number
team.
2. We're counting now. Viewers, you guys count how many times we get called Oren tonight.
Oh my goodness.
And then you got to buy me a beer for each one.
So that's 2. Okay, so that's 2 so far. Hopefully we don't get to 5. I'm looking at this team, and OG's finally looks like he's getting there. He looks like he's getting there consistently. 22 points tonight, right? 8 for 17. He's getting there. He understands that, he's the guy until Pascal gets back. And Scotty Barnes, he's taken anywhere from 8 to 12 shots a game since the season started. So he's immediately being thrusted into a big role. The rest of the team, we talked about the bench, the underwhelming bench. Did you expect this much of a fall off, Aiden, from a guy like Goran Dragic in the season? Because he has been someone that I feel like, at least on my, iteration of Raptors Twitter, there's not that many fans of what they've seen so far from Dragic. I mean, he didn't leave a great taste in Raptors fans' mouths when he said that he essentially just didn't want to be in Toronto.
Yeah.
He took that back, obviously. So, we forget it. We forgive, we forget. But just in terms of his play, do you expect more? And is he, I guess, a prime trade candidate for you so far?
I don't know what his value is now. I mean, he's $20 million, and it's a final year of his contract, so fine. But matching him, teams aren't going to want to give up that much to get him. Um, I I I liked picking him up. I think he has room. You saw in the fourth quarter, just his presence alone is kind of grounding. We don't
Mm-hmm.
really have that strong-minded veteran presence, and so I like having him around. I think his shot will come. He's getting to the rim. I mean, he had 6 free throws. He missed some little layups, but he can hit those. So he kind of gives us more rim pressure than most anybody else on our team. And I think, again, it comes back to Pascal and Utah, who we haven't talked about. But when everybody gets shuffled in, that's going to take less pressure off of Goran and allow him to kind of float in that off-ball role. And I think he'll
Yeah.
be more effective. He's not, he's no longer a primary point guard in this part of his career, but he certainly has a role.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you almost have to have a role on this team. There's no other choice out there. I mean, you can say, I know a lot of people have been clamoring for Malachi Flynn to get some PT, and I understand it, right? Malachi had a season last year, considering everything, the Raptors playing in Tampa, not in the same country, not in the same city. They had a freaking hotel ballroom to practice in. The season was out of whack last year, and with everything considered, Malachi Flynn, I felt like had a good rookie year. I'm looking at, who can help, because now, the Raptors, they lost their first game at home to the Washington Wizards, a game that a lot of people felt they should have won. They go into Boston, it's Boston's home opener, and they destroy Boston. So now so it's almost like we're down here and then we're up here, Aiden.
This is going to be the season, my man.
And then, you lose to Dallas, and Dallas is, by all means a better team than Toronto. I'm not going to act like Toronto should be, walking into a game versus Dallas and blowing them out or anything like that. So you expect that loss as a Raptors fan. That's fine. Okay. So we're in the middle now. And then you lose a game against the Bulls. Bulls, most people would say, talent wise, that's a better team. So, we're going up and down the roller coaster. You have the Indiana Pacers on Wednesday night. Are the Raptors, from a macro view, where you expected them to be this season? 4 games in, from everything you've seen, from the rotations you've seen, Delano Banton getting minutes at the end of the rotation, Scotty playing as much as he is, or have they surprised you in a bad way? What do you think?
They're about where I'd expect them to be.
Yeah.
I think we're lucky that Barnes has surpassed all of our expectations, because we could be in a world of hurt if he hadn't. I think offensively, I'd like to see more usage with OG and Barnes in like a central role. I mean, if you watch, whenever Scotty gets into the paint, whenever OG is posting up, they just feast. And I feel like Nurse has not really done enough to get them the ball in the right place to succeed. Instead, what we've been seeing is a lot of OG trying to create on the perimeter and not really understanding where to pick his spots, and forcing things when he's getting unnerved or he really feels the need to score at some point. And so, in 4 games in, that's the kind of stuff we're going to experience. We're just going to see the ups and downs, the new experience for a lot of these guys being the focal point of an offense.
Yeah.
So I'm not really all that surprised at where we're at.
Yeah, Andrew here comments, just give Scotty the ball and just let him go. And that's where I was. That's where I was. I love the fact that Scotty, when he's aggressive, good things happen. I mean, he's a very good finisher at the rim. And I'm not going to act like, I expected Scotty to just take off like this when the season began. But I do feel like, hey, this is a young kid. This is an athletic kid, a very good, explosive, what I like to call first step. Gets to the rim very quickly. We've seen the spin moves. We've seen the Euro steps. Like Scotty Barnes, he's not a one-trick pony when he's driving to the rim. And he shot 6 for 8 today. So, Aiden, I want to see more of Scotty attacking the rim. I don't know about you.
Well, and he's a great passer, and not only a good passer in motion, but he's a good passer just in the post, whether it's the high post, the low post. He has great vision, and it creates a lot of havoc down there, because if you have a small guy on him, he just punishes them. And same with OG, like they just really hurt guys down low, but we go away from it. And you see our offense really struggling when guys choose to go one-on-one. Like we saw Precious kind of fuck around on the perimeter and nothing
Hmm.
happened.
Yeah.
OG forced a shot, Gary Trent forced a shot, and that's when things really fall apart for us. And I think that's like an option is just more usage with OG and Scotty in spots where they're more dangerous, right? OG on the
Yeah.
perimeter is not dangerous right now in the same way that he could be with more reps.
I think this is where most Raptors fans are right now. The tweet we're looking at from Swar Lasers Assad, he says the talent is there. They need to clean up the easy mistakes. It's a young team, a lot of new guys, so it is what it is. Pretty clear that this team has a path to success.
Yeah.
Aiden, are you with that sentiment?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're in this game if we don't miss a bunch of layups early on. Um,
Yeah.
and they're right. We have the framework of a very um, a, um, uh, a promising team moving forward. I just think
Yeah,
it's going to
absolutely.
take a little while for all of this to kind of like to work out. Again, like I said, we played teams with bona fide superstars or all stars that have been in the league for a long time. The majority of our guys, OG included, have not had this kind of exposure and volume and usage. It's all new to them. Really, only Fred is really the only guy that's used to this, and he's way in over his head. So I mean, the fact that we beat Boston, like thumped them, and that we were in the Dallas game and we were in the Chicago game, um, and with Dallas until late, but we were in those games. Like that speaks volumes to where we're at.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight this comment really quickly. D Ned said Nick Nurse is not utilizing so many things Scotty or OG in the post. More cutters. I
Yeah,
miss Chris Finch with a lot of cutting last season. Do you think that that's more of a Chris Finch thing, an offensive system mishap, or do you think that's more of just not having Kyle Lowry there, not having Pascal Siakam there? I feel like cutting it's a funny thing in the NBA because cutting really only works if you have the guy that can actually make the pass first. You can cut all you want in the league. If you don't have that Kyle Lowry that's there, who has like that second pair of eyes for you, or Siakam, who's a pretty good playmaker for his size. We saw Scotty Barnes find some cutters in these last few games. Do you think that Nick Nurse maybe needs to tweak a little bit more and have, make use of that length, make use of Scotty and OG off ball more than on ball?
I think a lot of cutting has to do with a shifting defense. I mean,
Yeah.
you can only cut so much with your guy right on you, right? Like, and you saw Gary. Gary's a great cutter, and he does it when the defense is a little bit out of step, and he backdoors or he fills gaps. Um, and a lot of that comes from initial pressure on the defense, and that's really where we kind of suffer if we're not. And the reason why we fell behind so quickly is because we're dependent on stops on the defensive end, defensive outboard rebounds, outlet, get down the court, turnovers, get down the court, and we were missing our 2-on-1s and our 3-on-2 chances. And then we go get into the half court and everything's slows to a halt. So yeah, I think we should be trying different things. Like I said, I think OG or Barnes in that high post, working on the nail,
Mhm.
pounding it down low in the block. Like I think those are things we can do. I don't see what the downside is. It's not like our offense is stellar at the moment as it is. You know?
No, I'm with you. No, absolutely, I'm with you. I feel like Samson made such a good point on the last show where he said, this iteration, this version we have of the Toronto Raptors, where it's just filled with youthfulness. It's almost like they have the ability, and they have to have the ability to just thrive in complete chaos because the half court offense isn't going to be pretty. When you
No.
have a team, the seventh youngest team in the league, seventh youngest, you're not going to have a team that really understands the nuances of running a smooth, structured half court offense. It's not going to happen, which is why I feel like Raptors fans, they've been, you know, they must be very grateful for Kyle Lowry these last, however many years he was with the Raptors, that, they had a premier NBA playmaker, a guy with just oozing of basketball IQ to run an offense and what looked like a very, very smooth offense on most nights. The Raptors don't have that. They have Fred VanVleet, who's almost learning on the go, right? He's learning. It's almost trial by error, trial by fire, however, whatever you want to say with Fred VanVleet. He looked good. Again, he looked good. You can't. I know people are gonna try and like manipulate the situation and say, you know what, 17 assists is 17 assists, but you can't do this and you can't do that. I mean, the load on Fred VanVleet is it's overwhelming at this
It's
point.
unsustainable.
It's unsustainable. It really is. And Scotty Barnes, sometimes I wonder, are the Raptors going to be a playoff team if they're relying this much on their fourth overall pick, Scotty Barnes, to play make and to do all these different things? But then you start to come to a realization that, hey, the Raptors are missing, they're missing their best guy, Pascal Siakam. So, I mean, it is what it is. This was a cool tweet, Aiden, that honestly I feel like a lot of us resonated with from Hoop Goose. He said it's extremely difficult to balance scoring and distributing in the NBA. But given that, I feel like we've gone too far with Fred the distributor. I don't think this offense can tread water without him getting shots up. So, first of all, I'll ask you a two-part question, Aiden. Do you agree? And also, does Fred have to almost balance it where, because I feel like the first few games it was like, all right, Fred, like we get that you're trying to get into shooting rhythm, but this might be a little too much. And then now he has the 17 assists and people are like, hey, we need you to score. So can we get that balance from Fred, or are we just asking too much?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're asking too much. Obviously, he's not a number one option, and he's really, it seems like at most times, he's really the only guy that can create in a half court set.
Yeah.
But he struggles so much at the rim, and he's still not making the right decisions when he's in the lane. He's getting better at it, 17 assists, obviously, but he's not an elite playmaker. And I think what Hoop Goose is getting at is if he's playing off ball a little bit more and he's getting the ball on the weak side or on a defensive shift or out of an action, he's much more of a threat, right? If you hit him with a pin down or a double screen and he has a defender lunging at him, he's much more dynamic than anybody we have right now. And Gary Trent's playing that role right now. And Gary Trent doesn't have the ball handling or the passing, frankly, to do what we need on the offensive end. So I think with Pascal coming back, and I think with OG getting more and more confident, Fred coming off the ball is something to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I said before, this season's been an absolute roller coaster. Aiden, I don't know. No, I was about to say I don't know if I can do this anymore, but it's insane. I mean, we're gonna see, and it hurts to say this honestly, but we're gonna see Raptors get blown out some games, and we're gonna see Raptors blow out some teams. We're gonna see close games. It's gonna be all over the place.
We watch games for entertainment, and if anything, these 4 games, other than the Washington one, have been entertaining to the max. And yeah, it's frustrating, but I mean, you're fooling yourself if we didn't think that the 7th youngest team in the league wasn't going to have some bumps, especially early on. And we're playing teams that have had a core. I mean, they're new, but most of them are veterans if they are new.
Yeah.
And we're playing teams that are much more resilient and more composed than we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been mentally taxing. Speaking of taxing, or I should say taxes.
Oh,
Aiden,
what a segue!
You like that, right? Here we go. What a segue! We have a sponsor read for you guys from Can-Am CPA. Can-Am CPA is a full-service small business accounting and tax firm with an experienced and friendly staff that can help you navigate a triangle offense better than Phil Jackson. Can-Am also provides personal tax preparation and can recover the refunds that you are entitled to. Don't leave that money on the table. If you have questions about your personal tax questions, reach out. Can-Am would be happy to help the Raptors community. Check out their Google reviews and visit Can-Am at www.canamtax.com. That's www.canamtax.com.
Ooh, do we want to touch? That's a great read, Sahal.
Thank you.
Done. Is that your first ad ever?
No, we had a couple last year.
Okay.
But you guys better get on if you can. If you're a small business owner and you watch the Raptors,
tell us we sent you.
Tell us we sent
you. Tell them that Oren, and Sahal sent you.
Don't do that, because if you say Oren and Sahal, you got to throw Aiden in there as well. Because at this point,
too.
I'm already calling Aiden Oren, so
That's what I'm saying.
we might have to say Oren twice.
Do we want to touch this or no?
Yeah, no, we could talk about it. I was going to bring it up earlier, but I was like, let's get into the game first. DeMar DeRozan, and we could talk about it. So, earlier today, Raptors fans were graced, or I should say, disappointed, with a Toronto Star news article that came out regarding Masai Ujiri, regarding Edward Rogers from the Rogers Company, the current CEO of Rogers Wireless, I should say. So, if you haven't seen it already, the context behind the story is that, Masai Ujiri, during his contract extension talks, Edward Rogers, who sits on the board of MLSE, was not a fan, or he was the chair, yeah.
He was the chair.
He, to put it very, I think, politely, reportedly, I want to say reportedly as well, right? This is a report, is that he was not a fan of Masai Ujiri, giving him a contract extension, and was, more on the side of, hey, let's just roll with Bobby Webster. Masai Ujiri's asking for far too much. He's not worth this amount of money. It is what it is. I will say, though, Edward Rogers, as far as I know, if I read correctly on Twitter, he did deny this report, and he did say that he was, all for the Masai Ujiri contract extension. But yeah, essentially, Toronto Star, they had this massive investigation come out where, Edward Rogers wasn't a fan of Masai Ujiri, and he spoke to the entire board and was like, hey, he's essentially overrated. I mean, if you don't feel like a guy is worth the money he's asking for, you feel like he's overrated in a sense. And they wanted to roll with Bobby Webster. So that obviously upset the Raptors fan base, because, Toronto, the relationship with Toronto and Rogers wasn't great already, Aiden. So, Rogers is well known, as well as Bell, or really just all cellular data companies are known for, quote unquote, ripping off Canadian customers. I won't tell you. I won't tell you what I pay Rogers per month, but I will say that, I do have Rogers internet. I do have Rogers cell phone service. And no, I won't be canceling it. I'm the biggest Masai Ujiri fan. You guys will probably find. I call him my uncle at this point. Masai Ujiri is like my uncle, and I've never met the guy in my life before. What were your thoughts, I guess you could say, that in the story that came out, without getting into too much? I don't want to turn this into a slander episode, because then we're gonna have to bring Assad and William Liu and the whole slander kingdom of Raptors Twitter. What were your thoughts on this report from Toronto Star that came out?
I do think it's pretty rich that the heir to a $1 billion corporation, is telling somebody else that they're not worth the money.
Yeah.
We know Masai's worth it. He's probably worth a lot more. The report also showed that teams were literally offering equity for him to join that team.
Yeah.
There were EPL teams that were headhunting
English
him.
Premier League, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Imagine if Liverpool or Manchester City was calling and Masai's like, no, I want to get this done. And you have Edward Rogers going, we're good over here. We'll roll with Bobby Webster. I don't know about that.
So you have somebody. So essentially, Ed Rogers is not a good businessman if he's undervaluing Masai, because everybody else is, including the other owners of the team, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So he's wrong, obviously, but then
100%.
There's more reporting that he says, Masai showed up with his bodyguards and Masai was arrogant.
Yeah, that part was funny.
And you can't help but wonder what else, what other. I'm not going to say it explicitly. Well, no, I think race could be involved here. I mean, if you have a black man showing up with his driver and a videographer, and you call them bodyguards, and then you call somebody who's a businessman negotiating his contract arrogant. You got to wonder what Ed Rogers' true perspective is. But yeah, straight up, he's just wrong. And he's also been voted out as chairman, and his mom and his sister are trying to oust him altogether. So I think Masai ended up on the right side of all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the funniest part to me, and it was honestly, it's a sad story because Masai Ujiri is well regarded across the league as one of the best front office executives there are. Like, you could argue in sports how he's transformed the Raptors. I saw a chart that was like the Raptors. I forgot what the team value was. It was like $200 or $300 million before Masai Ujiri got here. Somewhere between $200 and $400 million, and right now it sits at, according to Forbes at least, I think it was like, yeah, you see it there. 2011, 399.
Masai joined in 2013.
So Masai joins in 2013. They're at $405 million in terms of the team worth. Now you're looking at a team today that's worth $2.15 billion. I mean, you can only, your club's worth can only go up if you're doing something right, Eden. I mean, they won a championship a couple years ago.
Executive of the year.
He's won executive of the year. Nick Nurse has won a coach of the year. The team has won a lot of games. They've been one of the more consistent franchises over the last decade. And now look, they stand at $2.15 billion. And I mean, who are we looking at, Aiden, in terms of who's responsible for all of this? I mean, you could go into the micro and say Kyle Lowry. You can say Fred VanVleet. You can say Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi was there 1 year. Sure, Kyle, you can say that from a player perspective. You could say Nick Nurse had something to do with it. Dwayne Casey as well. You know, the Raptors' playoff success wasn't all that great with Dwayne Casey, but he won a lot of games in Toronto. But when you really, really look at the architect, it's looking like Masai Ujiri. So I feel like
look at some of those trades he's made. He's like the
incredible
swindler of the 21st century.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I feel like he has the right in contract extensions to ask or demand, however you want to say it, for, you know, a certain amount of money per year or a larger title. When you're the best at what you do, that's normally what happens. You don't just get money, you get other things as a front office executive. And obviously he was promoted to vice chairman of basketball operations. He was a president before that. So, you know what, whether the story's true or not, where the truth remains, Masai Ujiri is, you know, running the show with the Toronto Raptors. So is Bobby Webster as well. I want to give him his full credit as well. And I feel like Raptors fans are okay. They're feeling okay. Obviously, a story like this just makes it that much more easier to kind of pull the pitchforks out and the tiki torches and all that stuff and stand outside Rogers' building downtown. No, we're not going to do all that. Masai Ujiri is still here. The Raptors are on a good track, Aiden. Come on.
It also makes us feel beloved, right? Despite all of that, Masai chose to stay. Despite teams trying to poach him from different leagues, he chose to stay. So, you know, that warms my heart to know that he wants to be here. Yeah,
absolutely. Honestly, it does, because at this point, a lot of people had him going. Maybe he's going to work for the NBA. Maybe he's going to go to NBA Africa. Maybe he's going to go, you know, here, there, anywhere. It said in the report, EPL teams, English Premier League teams, who are literally ran by oligarchs, however you say it, billionaires. It's not even, calling them billionaires isn't even enough. Those guys are spending, you know, 50 million on a single player, 80 million on a single player. So, you know, those are some big money, you know, clubs that are looking for him. It wasn't just NBA teams. These are sports, you know, historical sports clubs looking for Masai Ujiri. But he chose the Toronto Raptors. So, I mean, we're all okay with it. I guess Ed Rogers, he's going to have to do quite a bit of damage control for the next week or so. So, I mean, it is what it is. Aiden, do you have anything that you want to plug before we wrap this up?
No, I got an article coming out on Raptors Republic later this week. 10 things I dig and don't dig, which is trying to make more of a constant this year.
Yep.
And I got the recap for this game for tomorrow. So give me a read on Raptors Republic. So
recap will be out. I can't wait for that. I mean, for me, I'm going to read probably 4 different recaps on this Bulls game, even though I watched it. That's just me, though. I'm reading sports articles nonstop. But before you guys leave us tonight, and I know you haven't done it yet, so like, comment, and subscribe. Do it right now. Like. All you got to do is click a button, guys. It's not hard.
So easy.
It's not hard. It's so easy. Like, comment, subscribe to the Raptors Republic channel. Turn on the post notifications if you haven't already, so you know when we're live, because we're going to be live after every single game. This was the wrap up, your Raptors Republic post-game live show, where your Toronto Raptors were defeated by DeMar DeRozan and the Chicago Bulls 103 103? No, 111 to
111,
108.
108.
111 to 108. I'm in the past. I'm in the Dallas Mavericks game. 111 to 108, bringing the Raptors record to 1-3 on the season. I'm gonna miss you guys. We'll see you guys Wednesday night, I believe it is, for the Indiana Pacers. Yeah, so I'm excited. Take care, guys.
Night.